Take a slow breath with me. Not the breath of urgency, not the breath you take when you are running behind life, but the quiet breath that enters when you finally stop pretending you are fine. Let it come in slowly. Let it leave gently. There is no rush here. Nothing to prove, nothing to impress. You feel it, don't you? The quiet ache beneath the surface. The sense that you are present everywhere, yet seen nowhere. That you give your time, your patience, your emotional energy, and still something essential is missing. Respect. Not admiration, not applause, just respect. The calm acknowledgement of your worth. Many people confuse respect with popularity. They chase approval, soften their edges, adjust their truth, hoping that being agreeable will make them valued. But respect does not grow where self-abandonment lives. It grows where inner order exists. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. Yet many live with ambitions shaped by others' expectations. They bend themselves to fit rooms that were never built for them. Over time, they lose the quiet authority that comes from standing upright within one's own soul. The first habit that silently erodes respect is the habit of explaining yourself to those who are not listening. You feel the pull, don't you? The urge to clarify, to justify, to prove that your intentions are good, that your heart is clean, that your choices make sense. But every unnecessary explanation is a small withdrawal from your inner strength. Seneca warned that no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. In the same way, no person earns respect by pleading for understanding. Respect is not convinced, it is recognized. When you explain yourself endlessly, you teach others something dangerous, that your confidence depends on their agreement. You place your center outside yourself. You hand your balance to people who may never handle it with care. Stoicism teaches us that dignity is quiet. It does not argue, it does not chase, it does not panic when misunderstood. It stands still and allows truth to reveal itself over time. Think of a mountain. It does not explain why it exists. It does not defend its presence. It simply is. And because it is, everything around it adjusts. The second habit that dissolves respect is reacting emotionally to every provocation. Life will test you. People will press on your wounds. Words will be spoken that feel unfair, dismissive, or sharp. But the moment you allow every external disturbance to command your inner state, you give away your power. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that other people's actions belong to them, just as your response belongs to you. Emotional discipline is not coldness. It is strength under control. It is the calm river that flows steadily while storms pass above it. When you react instantly, loudly, defensively, you show the world exactly where you can be controlled. Respect fades when people realize they can pull your strings. The third habit is tolerating disrespect in the name of peace. This one is subtle. It disguises itself as kindness, as patience, as understanding. But there is a difference between compassion and self-erasure. When you allow boundaries to be crossed repeatedly without response, you teach others that your limits are negotiable. Stoicism does not teach endurance without wisdom. It teaches discernment. You are not required to fight every battle, but you are required to honor yourself. Silence can be powerful, but only when it comes from choice, not fear. There is a quiet courage in walking away without bitterness, in refusing to explain why you will no longer accept what diminishes you. Seneca wrote that he who knows how to suffer before it is necessary suffers more than necessary. The same is true of disrespect endured out of habit. Respect begins internally. It is the alignment between your values and your actions. When those two drift apart, the world senses it immediately. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Now breathe again, because something deeper is unfolding here. Respect is not about dominance or control. It is about inner solidity, the kind that does not need to announce itself, the kind that grows when you stop leaking your energy into places where it is not honored. Settle into the breath again. Notice how the body softens when nothing is being demanded of it. This is the state from which respect quietly grows, not from tension, not from force, but from inner steadiness. There is another habit that slowly erodes respect, and it often hides behind good intentions. It is the habit of always being available, always responding, always showing up immediately, always saying yes before checking in with yourself. At first, this feels generous. It feels kind. It feels like commitment. But over time, it becomes a silent declaration that your time belongs to everyone else before it belongs to you. When you treat your time as endlessly accessible, others learn to treat it as endlessly disposable. Respect fades not because you are kind, but because you have taught the world that your presence has no weight. Seneca spoke often about the shortness of life, warning that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Each moment you give away without intention is a moment taken from your own becoming. Respect follows those who move with purpose, not those who scatter themselves thin in every direction. There is strength in pause, strength in delay, strength in choosing when to engage. When you stop responding immediately to everything, you are not being rude. You are being rooted. You are allowing your actions to come from clarity rather than reflex. Another habit that quietly dissolves respect is the need to be liked by everyone. This desire pulls you away from your center. It makes your words softer than your truth. It makes your posture smaller than your potential. It makes your decisions dependent on reactions rather than values. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that it is impossible to live well if you are always worried about what others think. The mind that chases approval is never at rest. It becomes a servant to moods, trends, and opinions that change like the wind. Respect does not come from pleasing the room. It comes from being internally aligned, even when the room is uncomfortable. Especially then, when you stop adjusting yourself to be palatable, something interesting happens. Some people drift away, others lean in, and those who remain begin to treat you differently. Not louder, not harsher, but with a subtle caution, with awareness, with respect. Another habit that weakens respect is oversharing your struggles with those who have not earned your trust. Vulnerability is powerful, but only in the right space. When you expose your inner wounds to people who lack empathy or maturity, those wounds become leverage. Stoicism does not teach emotional suppression, it teaches emotional sovereignty. Your inner life is sacred. Not everyone deserves access to it. When you share selectively, you protect your dignity. When you share indiscriminately, you hand pieces of yourself to people who may mishandle them. Seneca wrote that friendship benefits the soul only when it is grounded in virtue. The same is true of disclosure. Speak openly with those who demonstrate wisdom. Be reserved with those who do not. There is also the habit of constantly seeking validation for your choices, looking for reassurance, asking repeatedly if you did the right thing. This habit reveals doubt, not healthy reflection, but dependency. When your confidence requires external confirmation, respect quietly slips away. People trust those who trust themselves, not blindly, not arrogantly, but calmly. Quiet confidence communicates safety. It signals that you are guided by an internal compass, not external noise. Marcus Aurelius advised himself to do what is right without attachment to recognition. When your actions are rooted in principle rather than praise, they carry weight. They speak without explanation. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Let that reminder pass through you like a soft bell. Because what we are touching now is deeper than behavior. It is identity. Respect is a reflection of how you relate to yourself when no one is watching. It is shaped in silence, reinforced through restraint, and revealed through consistency. Return to the breath once more. Notice how calm is not something you force, but something you allow, like water settling after being stirred. Respect grows in this same way, not through effort alone, but through the quiet removal of what disturbs your center. There is a habit that weakens respect in a way that is almost invisible, the habit of complaining. Not the honest expression of pain, but the repeated focus on what is wrong, what is unfair, what should have been different. When complaint becomes a resting place, it reshapes how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. The Stoics were not blind to suffering. They lived through war, exile, illness and loss, yet they understood something profound, that dwelling on grievance multiplies suffering without adding strength. When you complain often, you signal helplessness. You tell the world quietly but clearly that circumstances control you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that external events are neither good nor bad. It is our judgment that gives them weight. Respect follows those who carry difficulty with composure, who face hardship without collapsing into bitterness. This does not mean silence in the face of injustice. It means choosing response over reaction, action over rumination, strength over spectacle. Another habit that dissolves respect is inconsistency, saying one thing and doing another, changing values depending on who is watching, promising and not following through. This fractures trust, and where trust erodes, respect cannot survive. Stoicism teaches integrity as alignment. Your words, your actions, and your values moving in the same direction. When this alignment exists, you do not need to assert yourself loudly. People feel it. They sense reliability. They sense depth. Seneca wrote that to wish to be well is part of becoming well. In the same way, to live with consistency is to slowly become someone others can rely on, not because you demand respect, but because you embody it. There is also the habit of avoiding solitude, filling every quiet moment with noise, distraction, company, stimulation. When you fear being alone with your thoughts, you lose the opportunity to know yourself, and without self-knowledge, respect has no foundation. The Stoics valued solitude, not as escape, but as refinement. In stillness, you hear what truly matters. In silence, you strengthen your inner voice. When you are comfortable standing alone, you stop clinging, and when you stop clinging, others stop taking you lightly. Another subtle habit is self-betrayal in small moments, laughing at jokes that cross your values, agreeing when something feels wrong, staying silent when your conscience speaks. These moments may seem insignificant, but they accumulate. Each one quietly tells the world, and your own mind, that your boundaries are flexible under pressure. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to never act against his nature. Your nature is not weakness. It is your moral spine. When you honor it consistently, respect follows naturally, because people sense that you cannot be easily bent. There is power in restraint, power in choosing not to engage in gossip, not to explain your absence, not to chase closure where none is offered. These choices create gravity. They slow you down in a world that rushes, and what moves slowly, deliberately, commands attention. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Let that pause settle, because what remains now is deeper still. Respect is not built by adding more effort. It is built by removing habits that drain your dignity, by choosing stillness over noise, principle over convenience, depth over performance. Stay with the breath, let it move in and out without effort, like the tide that knows exactly when to arrive and when to retreat. Respect follows this same rhythm. It comes to those who do not chase it, but who live in alignment with themselves. There is a habit that quietly damages respect at its very root, and that habit is self-neglect. Not dramatic neglect, but subtle abandonment. Ignoring your own needs, pushing past exhaustion, disrespecting your body, your time, your inner signals, all in the name of productivity, duty, or being strong. When you treat yourself as expendable, others unconsciously follow your example. Stoicism teaches care of the self not as indulgence, but as responsibility. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the body is a vessel for the mind, and the mind is the steward of virtue. When you are constantly depleted, your presence weakens. Your words lose weight, your boundaries blur. Respect begins when you stop running yourself into the ground for outcomes that do not nourish your soul. Another habit that erodes respect is living in comparison, measuring your worth against others' progress, appearance, success, or recognition. Comparison pulls your attention outward and fractures your inner stability. It makes you reactive instead of rooted. Seneca warned that envy is a confession of helping others judge us. When you measure yourself against external standards, you surrender authorship of your own life. Respect does not grow in borrowed metrics. It grows when you define what matters and live by it consistently. There is also the habit of over-identifying with past mistakes, replaying failures, carrying old shame as identity, allowing yesterday's errors to dictate today's posture. When you live trapped in regret, your presence becomes apologetic, hesitant, diminished. The Stoics believed in learning from the past without living inside it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are soaked in self-judgment, your energy reflects it. People respond to that energy before they ever hear your words. Respect follows those who move forward with humility, not self-punishment. Another subtle habit is avoiding responsibility for your inner state, blaming moods on circumstances, blaming reactions on others, saying this is just how I am. Stoicism teaches radical ownership, not of what happens to you, but of how you meet it. When you take responsibility for your emotions, you reclaim authority over your life. You stop outsourcing your peace, and people sense that you are not easily destabilized. This steadiness commands respect without effort. There is also the habit of filling silence with justification. When you speak too much to defend yourself, you dilute your presence. Silence, when grounded in confidence, speaks louder than explanation. Marcus Aurelius practiced inner restraint daily. He reminded himself that unnecessary speech often reveals insecurity. When you speak less but with intention, people listen differently. They lean in, they pause, they feel weight in your words. Another habit that weakens respect is resisting change out of fear, clinging to identities that no longer fit, staying in roles that drain you because they feel familiar. Stoicism teaches acceptance of impermanence. Nothing remains static, not relationships, not seasons, not versions of yourself. When you allow yourself to evolve, you demonstrate courage, and courage, even when quiet, is deeply respected. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment, "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Let that pause breathe, because what we are touching now is the core of self-respect, the invisible foundation upon which all external respect is built. When you honor yourself in private, the world responds in public. Remain here for a moment. Feel the quiet strength that comes from not rushing forward. Respect is never hurried. It gathers around those who are settled within themselves, those who are not pulled apart by every demand or expectation. There is a habit that quietly strips respect from a person, and it is the habit of needing to be seen struggling, carrying your pain openly, not as a moment of honesty, but as an identity. When suffering becomes performance, it loses its dignity. Others may offer sympathy, but sympathy is not respect. The Stoics did not deny pain. They understood it deeply, but they also understood that how you carry pain shapes how the world meets you. Seneca wrote that the wise man feels his troubles, but does not let them announce themselves everywhere. There is strength in discretion. There is authority in quiet endurance. When you learn to suffer without spectacle, you reclaim your gravity. Another habit that erodes respect is impulsiveness, acting before reflecting, speaking before understanding, deciding before grounding yourself in reason. Impulse is the enemy of dignity because it hands control to the moment instead of the mind. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to pause before reacting, to ask whether an action was necessary, just, and aligned with his values. That pause is everything. In that pause you step out of chaos and into command. People respect those who are not governed by their urges, those who move slowly enough to choose wisely. There is also the habit of mistaking busyness for importance, filling your days with motion so you do not have to face stillness. But constant motion scatters your presence. When you are everywhere, you are felt nowhere. Stoicism values simplicity. Fewer words, fewer commitments, fewer distractions. When your life becomes uncluttered, your presence becomes unmistakable. People feel it when you enter a space, not because you demand attention, but because you carry focus. Another quiet habit that weakens respect is resentment, holding on to old grievances, replaying conversations that will never be corrected, carrying anger like proof of injury. Resentment binds you to the past and hands your peace to those who may never return it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the best revenge is not to be like the one who wronged you. When you release resentment, you do not excuse harm. You free yourself from its weight, and freedom carries dignity. There is also the habit of avoiding discomfort at all costs, choosing ease over growth, familiarity over truth. Stoicism teaches voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, but as training. When you are willing to be uncomfortable, you become resilient. When you become resilient, you stop needing constant reassurance. Respect follows those who are not fragile. Another habit that dissolves respect is over-identifying with roles. Defining yourself solely as a job, a title, a relationship, a function. When those roles change, identity collapses. Stoicism teaches that roles are temporary, but character is permanent. When you root yourself in character rather than circumstance, you become adaptable without losing yourself. This adaptability is deeply respected because it signals inner strength rather than dependence. And then there is the habit of avoiding truth to maintain harmony. Staying silent when something matters. Smiling when something violates your values. Peace built on suppression is not peace, it is erosion. Seneca believed that a life aligned with truth, even when difficult, was the only life worth living. When you speak calmly, firmly, and without aggression, you set a tone. You teach others how to treat you. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Let that reminder drift away like an echo, because now we are nearing the heart of it all. Respect is not about being feared or admired. It is about being solid, about being someone who does not collapse under pressure or disappear under expectation. Stay with this stillness. Notice how the quiet does not weaken you. It strengthens you. Respect grows in the spaces where you no longer feel the need to fill the air with proof of your worth. There is a habit that silently dissolves respect more than most, and it is the habit of seeking permission to exist as you are, waiting for approval before acting, hesitating before speaking your truth, softening your presence so it does not disturb others. This habit trains the world to see you as optional. The Stoics understood that dignity comes from self-authorization. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he did not need applause to live according to nature. When you stop asking for permission to be grounded, calm, firm, and clear, your presence shifts. People sense that you are not waiting to be validated. You are already standing. Another habit that weakens respect is explaining your boundaries instead of enforcing them. Boundaries do not require essays, they require consistency. Each time you negotiate what you know is non-negotiable, you teach others that persistence will eventually override your limits. Stoicism teaches action over argument, quiet follow-through over emotional justification. When you say less and do more, your boundaries gain weight. People may not like them, but they will respect them. There is also the habit of proving your intelligence, your morality, your depth. Subtle competition disguised as conversation. The need to be seen as right, enlightened, or superior. This habit comes from insecurity, not strength, and insecurity, no matter how refined, repels respect. Seneca wrote that wisdom is not loud, it does not announce itself. It reveals itself through restraint, humility, and timing. When you no longer need to win every exchange, something shifts. Your words become fewer, your silence becomes heavier, your presence becomes undeniable. Another habit is allowing urgency to govern your life, rushing decisions, forcing outcomes, panicking when things unfold slowly. Urgency signals fear, fear of loss, fear of missing out, fear of being left behind. Respect does not grow in fear, it grows in trust. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that nature works at its own pace. Seeds do not rush to become trees. When you move with patience, when you allow time to do its work, others feel it. They slow down around you. They listen differently. There is also the habit of absorbing other people's chaos, taking responsibility for emotions that are not yours, trying to stabilize everyone around you. This habit drains your energy and blurs your identity. When you become the emotional container for everyone else, you lose your center. Stoicism teaches distinction. What is yours to carry, and what is not? When you stop rescuing others from their inner storms, you reclaim your strength, and strength that is not overextended commands respect. Another subtle habit is self-deprecation disguised as humility, making yourself smaller so others feel comfortable, downplaying your abilities, laughing at your own value before anyone else can. This does not make you relatable, it makes you forgettable. True humility is grounded, not diminishing. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, yet he never belittled himself. He simply did not exaggerate. When you stand neutrally in your worth, without inflation or reduction, others feel safe respecting you. There is also the habit of waiting for motivation before acting. Stoicism teaches discipline over mood, action aligned with values, regardless of emotion. When you act consistently, even when motivation fades, you build reliability, and reliability is one of the deepest forms of respect. People trust what is steady. They respect what endures. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Let that pause land softly, because now we are close to the end. Not an ending, but a return to the self that does not beg, chase, or perform, a self that stands quietly, firmly, and without apology. One more step, one more breath, take one more slow breath. Let it move through you, like a signal that nothing more needs to be added, only understood, only integrated. Respect in its truest form was never something you were meant to chase. It was never hiding in louder voices, stronger opinions, or sharper defenses. It has always lived closer than that, in the way you stand when no one is watching, in the way you speak when you could stay silent, in the way you remain calm when the world tries to pull you into urgency. The Stoics understood something the modern world often forgets. That power is not force, that authority is not aggression, that strength does not announce itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are steady, patient, and grounded, your presence will reflect the same tone. When you stop the habits that drain your dignity, something quiet happens. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You no longer feel restless in the presence of strong personalities. You no longer shrink or expand to fit the room. You simply arrive as you are, and people feel it. They may not comment on it. They may not name it, but they will pause before crossing your boundaries. They will listen more carefully when you speak. They will sense that you are not easily moved by approval or shaken by disapproval. Seneca wrote that the greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. Respect grows when you are fully here, when you are not waiting for permission to begin living with integrity. In modern life, distractions are constant, noise is endless, opinions are loud, but Stoic wisdom asks for something radically simple. Control what is yours, release what is not, guard your inner life with quiet discipline. When you wake up each day, you do not need to prepare armor, you need to prepare alignment. To act in a way that you would respect if you saw it in another, to speak in a way that does not require correction later, to choose restraint over reaction. This is how respect becomes natural. You will notice that as you change, not everyone will follow. Some people are drawn to instability, some prefer chaos, some rely on your old patterns to feel powerful. Let them go without resentment. Their path is not yours to manage. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that you can leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think, not as fear, but as clarity. Life is too brief to live in self-betrayal. This is not isolation. This is independence of spirit. And in a world that rewards noise, this quiet strength is rare. Let your life speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your restraint speak. You do not need to announce that you deserve respect. The way you live will say it for you. Stay steady, stay grounded, and move forward with quiet courage. The rest will follow.